Unfortunately for Chaz, they shit a motor, but him climbing out of the car, and when I saw where it was, I just knew straight away, and so did
Robbo.
The commentators, and everyone was like, fuck, that's at Robbo's joint.
Double engine expiry for Walkinshaw.
I thought that was weird. Have they been playing with things? I don't know.
Only a new GM engine and your used Ford engine were available for this testing. Currently, the complete response to low pressure is unknown.
Oh no! He's in the fence! They're both in the fence! They're all in the fence! Oh, unbelievable!
Take it away, Barber.
Sound check.
Sound check. Oh, they sound very different, these two, don't they? Cheers, mate.
Yeah, cheers.
It's good to be back home.
Well done on the weekend, mate. Just firstly, you didn't have
Thank
the
you.
result you wanted, but you did a great little job yourself, so well done.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, it was a pretty tough weekend. It was going really well up until...
It wasn't.
It wasn't. But yeah, that is Bathurst, isn't it? There's no guarantees. And I've always said it's just nice to turn up with the opportunity to try to win, like with the... You know, you're in contention with that team, and that's always a good feeling, but it goes to show it's not always a fast car that wins Bathurst, and it's bloody chaos. Like, I thought it was an unreal race, but yeah, my day just went from good to bad real fast. So, unfortunately, if you didn't see, Will aquaplaned in the wet. Well, first he was behind Kai Allen, I think, in aquaplaned. Tried to avoid him, but obviously went down the inside.
Doored him.
And then later in the race as well, aquaplaned up into 2. It's on Apex Hunters United socials as well. He unfortunately made a feature. And I was pretty happy on Thursday to go to bed Thursday night.
Without putting it in the wall.
Yep. And it's funny because one of the guys in the garage said to me, "Oh, are we going to go back out or what?" And there wasn't a lot of point because the track was like half wet, half dry in Thursday practice. And I said to my engineer, he didn't know what to do. And I said, "Look, mate, I've been a prick on a Thursday before. I don't need to do it again. I'm happy to just leave it in the garage, make it look nice and tidy for tomorrow, and send it." So that's what we did. We were quickest at that point, and I didn't see the value in risking the car on Thursday.
Actually, you topped both Coe sessions, didn't you, mate?
I did, yeah.
I actually did. I was cheeky on your side. I don't know if you saw on your side. I didn't tag you, but I just made a reply to one of your posts going about time you remembered.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I got a few messages actually from other drivers too. "Oh, you've remembered, mate," which was cool.
A few of the hunters got in there and liked me comment.
It was, mate, the car was so good, honestly. Like, even though the first one, the first practice was wild. Like, we were 7/10 lap faster than P2 until it rained. Every lap we did was just like bang, bang, bang. And then I made a mistake at the end, but luckily it held on to still be quickest. And then the next day or Saturday, whenever the last co-driver practice was, we topped it too. But yeah, it's just honestly, you got a good car and it makes your life a lot easier, and that team is pretty ridiculous. So I had the pleasure of driving it.
Nice. And the race, I didn't go up to the mountain, so I watched it on home like 5.5 million other people, and great race.
Yeah.
Loved it, like especially off the back of last year. And, we've talked about last year. It was amazing from a competitor's point of view, but from a fan's point of view, it wasn't that entertaining.
Yep.
Wow, didn't we get a difference this time? Awesome race.
Yeah, just add water.
Add water.
It was insane. I think early it was looking like it was going to be a T8 1-2. And of course, like that, it was going to be a boring race, to be honest. As a fan, you would have thought, fuck, this is going to suck. And it was shaping up to be that. I think the rain was always there. It was always coming, but there was no guarantee of it either. And I was listening to commentary in the headset when I'm in the garage. I can hear the car radios and I scan pit lane as well, so I know what's going on. But then I also have commentary in my ear. So I was listening to them hype up the rain, and I didn't know if it was going to come or not. I was hoping it wouldn't because it was going to be a lot easier for my day. But once it did come, the race just was off its head. I think it was really cool. And credit to a lot of the co-drivers as well that were not out of sequence, but if a co-driver did a double first stint, they ended up actually racing quite late in the day during that really bad wet part. And I thought some of them did a mega job to not make mistakes. And then we saw some of the big names like Will, Brock,
Frosty.
Richie Stanaway, who's a gun in the wet late in the race, made a mistake. Yeah, Frosty. He was in that later one.
Tony Alberto.
Well, I was meant to be giving co-drivers a rap here. You're just naming co-drivers.
I'm saying big names that have experienced it. Like some big names got caught out.
Yeah, exactly.
Shows how hard that race is.
Yeah. So, the likes of Job Stewart and Ojeda were a couple of guys that I thought in the wet match were very close to the main guys, and particularly with Cooper going on to be in contention for the win.
Yep.
Job did very well there, and I think shout out to him because I can't describe how hard that is, and that track, it's due resurfacing. Like, from my perspective, I'm like that. It looked a bit shit on TV. I think it's all cracked.
With all the fixes of the filler they put in the cracks.
Yeah, and I think it looks a bit rough now. And driving it, you can feel the tar and everything. But in the wet, it kind of made it like the inside of the front straight was so slippery. If you tried to pass someone on the front straight, you just snapped into oversteer. So it made it exciting. Personally, I think they need a resurface of a lot of it. But the tar that they've sealed those cracks with has cranked that track up.
From the couch, leave it.
Yep.
Because I think it made part of the race. It added character, added the aquaplaning or the people having moments that we saw. And we touched on it before the show. It's a little bit like Sandown.
Yeah.
Terrible in the rain. There's about 45 different surface changes, but it adds character and makes it exciting.
Well, immediately in my notes, I said, they need to fucking resurface the track. And you were like, no, I think it was great to watch. And I'm like, actually, you're right. This is Sandown again. As a driver, I'm going, I like the old safety car procedure where we got 2 laps to pit, no double stack and all that. And then everyone's like, Scott, you're an idiot. You're wrong. As a fan, that was terrible.
Yeah. I
actually, as soon as you said to me, it's like Sandown, I'm like, actually, you're right. When it rains, it's not meant to be easy. And that's why we saw the stuff go on that we did. I think it's actually, you're right. I think I'd love to see it resurfaced, but it probably added to the excitement of the show, having all those cracks resurfaced as well.
Yeah. And congrats to Matty Payne and Garth Tander because they did get the win.
They did. Congratulations, guys. And Grove, great job.
Yeah.
Mega job. I mean, they've invested a lot there. So the reward for getting the biggest race of the year is I don't know what you call it. It's a good payday. Like that's just that's what you dream of. That's what you go for. So Steve and Grove, congrats. And the whole team there. It's hard, man. I've been there so many times, and as fans and drivers and spectators, you know how hard that race is to win. So to win it, congrats. It's good. I mean, Garth's 6th time now. He's just ridiculous. Yeah,
Matty Payne goes first. Still so young in his career. Good on you guys. Bloody awesome.
Lancaster Motor Group. Got to give a shout out to those guys because they've got a special running at the moment. They're giving away a KTM 450 dirt bike. So that's Lancaster Motor Group from now until the 23rd of December 2025. If you purchase $1,000 worth of accessories on a new or used vehicle on their 4x4 store or in their workshop, you go in the draw to win. The link will be in the description of this podcast, whether it's in your audio or on YouTube. Head to the description, click the link in there, purchase something. It's online too, so you can do it from anywhere in Australia. You go in the draw to win a KTM 450 dirt bike.
And we even sweetened the pot with that too. We said if you're an AHU subscriber and you're in Victoria, we'll go on a pub ride with you. If
actually.
You win the bike. So
I was worried where you were going with that. I thought, what the fuck did we promise? I can't remember.
Like, oh, what?
Scott said he'd give you another one.
2-for-1 deal, guys.
But that's a good. There you go. If you want to ride with us, we're not very good either, so we can make you feel real good about yourself.
You'd be riding slow, but if you want to ride slow and go enjoy frothy at one of the Victorian high country pubs with us on your dirt bike,
get on there and purchase something. All right, I wanted to quickly touch on the safety car rule, mate, because again, I didn't really. There's a big grey area around what we're going to do under the single waved and double wave yellow. I think double wave yellow, they said you needed to reduce 50% of your speed. We don't run speedos in the car, so that was problem number one when we went into the it's funny too because when you do a hot lap with any VIPs or fans, whatever it might be, they always say, what speed are we doing at the end of the straight? And I have absolutely no idea.
You're like, I don't know, 6 gear and 6,500 RPM.
Yeah. So there was a few grey areas that all of us drivers were wondering about, and driver's briefing went for a very long time. Possibly the longest I've ever had. I reckon it probably went for an hour. Yeah, wow. And it was all kind of going round and round in circles. But at the end of it, I did want to say credit to them. We said it after the bend, making a change mid-season. And I said it in the press conference too, like, you got to put your balls on the line when you make decisions like this mid-season. It's like the parity stuff. Obviously, if you're ever going to make changes, it's going to be you're upsetting some people. You might make some happy, but you got to be prepared to make a decision. They did that, and then they listened to all the drivers during driver's briefing. The grey areas realised, okay, these are actually red flags we need to fix here. And Jamie came up with a really good idea. After the driver's briefing, a few of us stayed back and kept trying to work with them on what to do. So it was great that the officials stayed back and chatted to us. Jamie's idea was actually the double wave yellow, instead of just having like 50% speed or whatever you need to reduce, let's still use the FCY button, but increase the distance of the double wave yellow. So bring the double wave yellow forward like 2 flag points. You can drive up to it flat out, but when you get to that double wave yellow, you press the FCY button, which just kills the power. Yep. You can be on full throttle, doesn't matter. As soon as you press that, the car will just start decelerating. And if the double wave yellow is early enough, you'll be at 80 by the time you reach the incident.
Yep.
And they actually thought that was a good one, and that's what they implemented. So It worked great in the race. Under single wave yellows, it was back to the old procedure, which was pretty much just drive with caution, be prepared. If you have to make a change of direction fast, be ready for it.
Yep.
If there's a white flag with a yellow, that's a slow-moving vehicle. Make sure you do really back off. If you just buzz a bloody ambo, you're going to...
Yeah, so it could be a tow truck, could be an ambulance.
Exactly. Yep. So that was still the same as it used to be, but the press the FCY button worked a dream, I thought. It was nerve-wracking. I think there was 35 flag points around the track, and prior to the race, I was trying to memorise the position of every single flag point so that if they said like 19.2 is the first double wave yellow.
Like, it's up here or it's...
Yeah, I was driving along and the map's on my door and I'm like, fucking 19.2, where's that one? But anyway, yeah, I thought it was great. There was no issues. The safety car, we still had double stack risk. There was no massive gains under it. It was tested and trialled a few times throughout the race, and I didn't see any issue with it. So till something else comes up, good job. Thanks for listening to everyone in the driver's briefing. Went for a very long time, but it got resolved, and I think it was good in the end. I think the show was all right on Sunday.
Yeah. Always hard, those things, because you've always got so many differing opinions.
Oh, dude.
And for them to try and like sift through who's they should be listening to and who maybe they shouldn't,
Yeah.
it always takes time. So I'm glad that they obviously got to a resolution there. It sounds like it was a pretty good one.
Oh, man. And it was impressive. Like, see J-Dub do that, because obviously he spends a lot of time in boardrooms now. He's dealing with people. Like, the way he presented the ideas and the options was pretty impressive. Like, because all of us, every driver's got their egos, and it is funny, like you say, trying to listen to all of us
It's a swinging competition
is
sometimes.
impossible. Yeah, because we're all like also looking for our own advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Safety and has to be priority number one, but equally we're all competing. So everyone's like, oh, what about this? Or trying to do this, or their dash setups are different, whatever it might be. So officials are like trying to sift through the bullshit and get to the truth, which is where it was great that they actually stayed back and had the conversation with us, and we come to a pretty good answer that worked for everyone.
That's good. While you're on the topic of officials, mate, you wanted to give a shout out to the officials, like the flaggies and all of the officials that are out there staying in those terrible conditions, because that's a hard gig. Because for listeners, when you get your motorsport license, you used to, I assume you still do, you had to spend a day as a flaggie.
Yep.
I remember I did it at Sandown. I don't know where you did it, mate, but I did it at Sandown. And standing out there all day waving a flag, it's hard work. Like, you've got to be so passionate and just love the sport so much. So, as you say, that was on a nice sunny day. So, let alone bucketing down rain, cold. Hats off to all the officials that
100%.
Not only on the weekend, but do it every weekend and week out for motorsport in Australia in general.
Exactly. And I did want to shout out, because we often get the opportunity to go and say thank you at the event. This year I didn't. I'm not sure if it was like they select people. Maybe they selected some main drivers and they went up and thanked the officials, but Sunday was atrocious. The weather was just gnarly. And I am very grateful that our officials stayed out there in the rain. There's a lot of volunteers out there that we meet across the weekend that come up at the signing sessions to say hello. And so, anyway, it's just a thank you to say, I know it's terrible out there, but we can't do what we do without you. And I hope that the race we put on rewarded you all with some entertainment at the end of the day, and you had a good weekend at the racetrack.
Yep. And good point, mate. Most of them are volunteers.
Yep.
They're right, just spending their time. They're earning no money doing it.
Yep.
I've always been big. I don't know if you are, mate, while we're on that topic. When you finish a race, I always wave at every flag point. Have you been one to do that? I know some people don't, but I've always, like when I was 16, I first got my first drive. The guy that owned the car said, you can drive this car as long as you make sure every time you finish a race, you wave to every flag point.
Yep. Yeah,
And
that's
so
great.
I had it like drummed into me early.
We get the opportunity on the driver's parade, which I love at Bathurst, especially. You do the driver's parade and you get to say thank you to each of them, because you're not going past that fast. But at that time in the day, it was sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
So I think it would have changed dramatically for them by the end of the day.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think the fact that the fans and everyone were still on the edge of their seat at the end of the day as well showed just how fantastic the race was.
Well, that was the thing, that the fans are out there too, braving the elements, mate. And they didn't go anywhere. They just cracked another cold one, said sound check, and kept watching from under their umbrella or their poncho. So that was awesome to see.
I hope you're enjoying this episode, but I do have to interrupt just quickly to thank our fantastic supporters that allow us to create the content for you. East Coast Car Rentals. If you're in the market for a rental car, think of those guys. And if you'd like a cheeky 15% discount, AHU15 is the discount code there for 15% off. If you're in the market to buy a car, not rent one, Lancaster Motor Group have got you covered for new or used cars. So think Lancaster Motor Group. Quadlock, fantastic supporter of our podcast as well. We use their products every single day on the pod using their desk mounts here. Also, we've used them to create the additional content like we did the Adelaide Motorsport Festival using their action camera mounts. So whether it's mounts, phone cases, they've got you covered. Quadlockcase.net. Now, the website for all of these brands that support us will be in the description of this podcast. Back to the show. Should we get into some of the TV numbers? Because they've released those and they're actually pretty impressive.
So huge. 4th biggest live sporting event for the year,
Yeah.
which is massive.
For anyone that likes to, shit on the popularity of supercars, I think these numbers definitely, what I hope out of the numbers is actually that we got some new viewers, because we changed the start time. We delayed the start time to being a little bit later so that we could run into when the news slot would normally be.
Yep.
So we potentially picked up some viewers that wouldn't otherwise be watching supercars, and maybe they sat down to watch their regularly programmed show or news,
Backyard or something,
and caught the back end of the supercar race because I think the race, the way it was, it would not have disappointed to anyone that just sat their ass on the couch and went, oh, I'll just turn my show on and come across supercars then, because the commentators, I'm sure if you listened all day, you may have been tired of them or whatever, but at the end, you could tell the excitement that was going through Scaife and Crompo. And if you just turned that on as a someone who's not an avid viewer of supercars, casual viewer, I think you'd be wanting to know when is the next race, because I want to see that again. So, yeah.
And just to give it some context, so it was 5.129 million views, but to give it some context, there's like 2 million more views than the Australian Open. and if you're in Melbourne or Australia, you know how big that event is. 2 million more views than that. So very close to the AFL Grand Final and NRL Grand Final. They were above it, but very, very close. So it's a huge, I guess, accolades to supercars and the sport to pull those numbers.
Well, like you said, AFL was 6.09 million, NRL was 6.4. And in 5.129 for supercars is awesome. And yeah, like I said, I hope that we do have some people that jumped in that wouldn't normally watch our sport, see what type of show we put on and come back for more. And I also liked that they weren't the regular names at the front of the field at the end. No. And they did not disappoint. Those kids, not kids, some of them kids, some of them not, but they drove such a good race at the end. Like, I honestly, that there weren't really many mistakes. They were, the odd running wide and stuff, but it was like door to door, wheel to wheel, hard racing that supercars has got to get back to all the time.
It not being the regulars.
Yeah.
I think that added the excitement too, because you're like, well, who's going to win this?
100%.
So that was awesome. But I've just noticed in our Patreon comments here, for those that are listening, we do have our Patreon members that jump in, join us, and they can talk to us while we're recording live here. And one has just said it was great to have SEN and Triple M covering the race too. Now, I actually got to experience that because I was at a mate's house watching the race, and then we took his little buggy down the road to his neighbour's house to watch some of the race. And in the buggy, it was on Triple M.
Right.
And it was good coverage.
So you didn't miss anything and you kept context?
Didn't miss anything, knew what was going on. We've also had someone say the free-to-air would have helped, and we do have the numbers on the free-to-air via 7 and what it was on Fox too, so we can give you the breakdown on that. So it was 3.95 million on 7 and 1.2 million viewers on Fox/KO.
Yep.
So that gives you the split. So it is a lot on free-to-air, which probably isn't that surprising.
Yeah, it does show that like free-to-air is still massive. Yeah. I don't have the KO numbers here, but I think KO went nuts as well.
So the Fox numbers isn't KO as well? I thought that was...
actually, it could be both.
I thought that was them both.
Maybe that is both.
The other great thing about the race was, unfortunately for Chaz, they shit a motor, but him climbing out of the car, and when I saw where it was, I just knew straight away, and so did
Robbo.
The commentators, and everyone was like, fuck, that's at Robbo's joint. And you can see Robbo walking down and straight away someone's handed him a beer, and like that was just... When your day's gone to shit, like for Chaz to do that, good on you, mate, because that was just, I mean, it'll be talked about for years, and that clip will be shown globally, probably already has.
Well, that's the personality stuff you want, right? Like, and I don't think there is no one that does drink because majority of the population does have a beer every now and then, and there's no shame. And yes, he's an athlete, but at the end of the day, he's just finished a hard day's work, didn't go to plan, he's having a beer. I think everyone can relate to that.
Hard earned thirst.
Exactly.
Best cold beers are reckless. But yeah, that was awesome to see, and a piss that Robbo listens to the show, so that was a pisser too, Robbo. Good on you, mate. And the Reckless Brewing guys were there, so that would have been a real buzz for all those people. But everyone watching, I think, just started pissing themselves. And even moments like that can actually grow the sport so much. And it was that particular moment that Dan Does Footy, who's got a huge platform, clipped that and did his thing that he does to his piece to camera, and then shared that on his socials, which just goes bonkers. So that's stuff like that where we have those funny moments or those iconic moments can help grow the sport so quickly. And so I think stuff like that's gold.
Well, we're very fortunate that our next event is the Gold Coast 600, which is probably one of the gnarliest tracks we actually go to. And so Dan Does Footy, if you are listening, Dan, that's one you got to tune in for because that one, if you think Bathurst was good as well, or if you thought Bathurst was amazing, Gold Coast will equally impress, I think.
Well, you're going to put it too, Dan, that he comes down here to the AHU bar and takes my spot, because I'll be at the event.
Yeah.
With some clients. So I'll actually be there. Scotty will be here at the bar. Dan, if you want to come down and do a live stream with Scotty, take my spot. I'll warm it up for you, mate. We're all for it.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome, because it is if you can get other people to see our sport for what it is, I think that it's like when you take someone for a hot lap or they come to the track for the first time. motorsport doesn't generally disappoint too much. I think that on TV as well, the product's not always as great to watch. I think if you see it in person, especially in the mountain, if you've walked the track, you get an appreciation of how narrow it is, how undulating it is, how difficult it is, and then to just imagine going through there at 200. I saw Steele Sidebottom went for a lap with just a slow lap in the safety car with Anton.
Yeah, course car ride.
So he's a Collingwood football player, and you could see he's a fan of the sport, and you could see how shocked he was just doing a lap. Like if you can get to a track it will blow you away. But Gold Coast is luckily only 2 weeks away. It's 1 weekend off in between, I think, and then next week is Gold Coast. So you don't have to wait long, which is great for the sport because we need to try and find a way to keep these new viewers, if we did pick up some, engaged and try and reach them again next week when they go back to the Gold Coast. And luckily it's a track that isn't a snoozer.
No, and I think everyone that's watched it, but I know even Shane was saying it when we were there last week, he's like watching the cars through the beach chicane is spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
And then the atmosphere and the way they promote that event is amazing. So that'll be a cracker as well. But we've put in here too, shout out to Supercars and the official for leading the race running those conditions too, mate, because...
Well, I said that was more a criticism for F1. I was actually like, come on, like this is where I moan all the time about races getting called off in the wet.
Yep.
And that track, tell me that was not worse than the conditions at the Melbourne Grand Prix.
Yeah. Couldn't see across the top. Like
so why did we can the one at the Melbourne Grand Prix, yet we raced there at Bathurst? I mean, at the end of the day, I asked Brock, we saw on TV how low the cloud was across McPhillamy and a skyline. I said, was it actually TV making it look worse or was it bad? He said, honestly, out of McPhillamy, I couldn't see skyline.
Yeah.
So it was bad. And they let the race go on, and I'm all for that. Like, they're meant to be the best drivers in the country.
Yeah.
And
drive to the conditions.
And it was unreal. So Grand Prix, I'll still go back to that event. I'm like, why do we cancel that? And then I was like, I watched the F1. I'm like, they always red flag the race when it gets too heavy. You can drive to the conditions. We saw that. We saw young kids as coes coming in as their first time as rookies.
Yeah.
Driving in those conditions.
And even in the press conference at the end, David Reynolds said he was shitting himself. He's like, I had no idea where I was, didn't know it, but he goes, it was cool. Like, you know.
Did you see Kyle Allen nearly hit the kangaroo?
Yeah, that was wild.
You couldn't even see it coming. And then.
And that's fast. Like I think he would have been in top gear by then too. So like
280.
Crazy. I mean, there's just so many moments in the race. It was great. Supercars need it. Bathurst need it after last year. I think it's awesome. There's a real.
We've had some bad races there recently, and
there's a real buzz around. I reckon that momentum will take now and it'll charge along. I said to you, I felt like whether I'm right or wrong, I could be wrong. I usually am, but I feel like it's on the verge of being one of those sporting events that's about to hit that fashionable, popular stage with non-motorsport fans. Like I'm hoping, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like you might be a little ahead of the curve on that one. Like I would love to think that.
I'm usually early.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, if it does, it'll all be because of Apex Hunters, but that's cool. We'll take it.
Yeah. I'm sure it's all because of us.
But it felt like...
Those 5.29 million viewers.
It felt like I saw a lot of content from people that wouldn't normally be diehard fans, either sharing stuff or liking things or commenting on stuff across the weekend. And I hope it is a sign of things to come because you do have events like that. Melbourne Grand Prix, because of Netflix, is like that now.
Yep.
You go, that's bonkers.
But that's where it brings you back to the consistency between events. The consistency of us being on, like, so I mean, like having, say it's 2 weeks maximum every time between.
Yeah.
You've got to be regular so that Melbourne bars know when to turn the top 10 shootout on and they don't miss it. Because if we're once every 2 weeks, then every 3, then every 4 or 5, depending if we're going to New Zealand via boat, fans don't know when to tune in. So I think we need to pick a good time slot. We need to be on
7 o'clock on a Sunday seems to be the go.
Well, it actually did, didn't it? I mean, if you could get around that. But I think that you need to be on TV consistently. And even if that is single-day events so that you can increase the events to 18, then you will actually get people coming across the sport by accident more regularly, more often, than actually having the interest to go, well, actually, when is the next race? I've seen 2 now. They're both fucking awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
And I think we're lucky we've got Gold Coast next. It's only 2 weeks, so hopefully we'll catch some of them again. But that's where, if you're every 2 weeks, you've got the chance of catching them more often. I think we've got to get in pubs in Melbourne, Sydney, you know, so that people come in and they actually come across it. Because if they could see the Gold Coast... Like chances are Dan does footy, Dan Gorringe, that is, I keep saying Dan does footy is his name on Instagram, but chances are he's never sat down and watched the race. He's a footy nut.
He will in 2 weeks' time. He's taking my spot here.
But he's gone, Bathurst is awesome. I'm like, dude, it's not actually just Bathurst. Often we have good races. Like we love to
Adelaide,
criticize.
Townsville, Gold Coast, there's a few key races.
Well, what about last year at Adelaide? You had Brock turn Chaz, Will turned Brody, got a PLP, drove from last to first because Brock had his 15-second. Like the race was nuts.
Yeah.
So we had a cracker, but we do have quite a few good races. Like I know we're critical on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But when I saw Dan put up that say Bathurst is fucking awesome, I think he said was his post.
Yep.
If we can catch people like that more by accident, they'll come back and realise that it's actually quite a good show.
Yeah, no.
It is good racing.
I agree.
Hunters, I just want to take a moment to thank one of our fantastic supporters, Shaw & Partners Financial Services. Shaw & Partners are a leading national investment advice and wealth management firm. They act for and on behalf of individuals, institutions, corporates, charities, and family offices. So, if you're looking for advice or assistance with investments or strategies, look no further than Shaw & Partners Financial Services. With a 35-year history and 8 offices strategically placed all over Australia, their financial advisors are within reach and ready to provide tailored solutions and advice. For more information, follow the link in the description of this podcast. Back to the show.
There's a couple of good battles throughout the race, mate. Any that stood out to you particularly from watching or that you had from behind the visor there?
Oh, you've thrown me here.
That's all right. I thought there was a good battle between Wood and Golding. I think when it sort of started to rain.
Late in the race?
Late in that race. I thought they had a good battle going. It was a shame, obviously, for Woody to have his engine expire because they were looking strong. They definitely would have been in with a shot.
That's a weird one. Double engine expiry for Walkinshaw.
I thought that was weird. Have they been playing with things? I don't know. But no, it's weird for out of the one garage to have 2 motors within 30 laps or whatever, 40 laps.
I love how quickly you back, but I don't know. Just kidding.
Well, they're sealed units, so they can't do anything. But it was just strange to have 2 engines expire from the same garage.
Actually, Madison Rose has popped in our Patreon as well. The Cam and Brody battle scared me.
That was awesome.
It was not awesome. Because I
thought it was great.
I think I was like 7th or 6th at that point, and it was fucking terrifying, I'll be honest.
Actually, on that lap, you got a flat. What happened there? They didn't really show that in the coverage.
Cooper is reckless. I'll be honest, like racing Cooper is like you're waiting for some damage. You're just like,
right.
And he come through the cutting, and he had drilled Jamie. So then Jamie drilled him back later. Was like, mate, fuck off. And anyway, I think he was lining Jamie up and I was on the outside of the cutting and I just passed him and he lunged. He was sort of still there, had the overlaps, gave him space. And then out of the cutting, he just took to the right, like as if I wasn't even there. He just drove straight into the side of me and just blew my front left tyre.
So that's why your left front got cut on the exhaust or something, was it, you reckon?
I have no idea. Dude, he hit me that fucking hard. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like I just gave you so much space around the cutting and then he just gassed it and drove in, which I was like, immediately I'm like, well, this is why you have wrecked every race this year and upset everyone. I was like,
right,
just run side by side, like, and that's why I think as well. We'll come back to the incident thing, but he just turns for the apex or just drives to the exit curb. Like, well, I was
everybody.
I was lucky in a way because it didn't damage the steering. Yeah. Good luck, everybody. But it did. It gave me a puncture. I tell you what, though, I was pretty impressed with my in-lap with a puncture. I had 0.8 of a pound and I never lost a spot until...
Because I felt bad, right? Because I'm watching.
I didn't want to finish that story anyway, so go on.
No, well, you got to it, so mate. With all due respect, just apologise. Because I was watching and I'm like, oh, this is... Because everyone bunched back up. I'm like, oh, this would be good. Scotty's going to make some spots here going on how the day had been happening. And then they get down to the lead 4 or 5, get down to the chase. And I'm like, what the hell has happened to Scott? Like, as you got out of the elbow, you just like had such a big gap. I'm like, what the hell's going on? But they never really showed. Then you pitted and you sort of saw a flat come off it, but they didn't actually obviously see it on camera or whatever. And I thought, but I started ribbing going, oh, he's been dog shit across the top of the mountain here. What's going on? And then I'm like, oh no, he's got a flat. That makes more sense.
I was like, straight away in my head, I'm like front left flat. I was on the radio. I got a flat front left out of the cutting. And then I was like, it's left-handers nearly the whole way to Conrod.
Yeah.
I'll just stay up it. So, and it said 0.8 of a pound. And I'm like, I was flat. I went down the grate, lifted off, and I'm like, okay, got it. Through McPhillamy, got it. And then I got to Skyline.
Yeah.
So I rolled out of it early, straight line Skyline.
Oh, okay, smart, yeah.
And then around the wall struggled a bit, but I blocked through the dipper, gassed it down to the elbow, and I'm just blocking. I was just driving side to side, got on Conrod, and it was so bad. Because the tyre hadn't delaminated yet. It was just flat.
Yeah.
And I got up to full throttle. I was like, oh, do I go to full throttle? And then I must have just pulled 5th gear and it blew, like delaminated. But I lightly got on the brake and the thing started to yaw because obviously I put the weight on the front left and it's just pulling. And I must have been doing 250. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to write the thing off. Like I'm fucked here. So I actually got back on throttle a little bit and then
picked it back up
and just slowed down all the way to the chase, just with like 10% throttle. And I was like, I was so lucky I got away with it Because, man, I would have been in front of everyone.
You'd have been at Robbo's having a beer.
Yeah, I would have been with Chaz having a beer. But anyway, I got back. We put another tire on it and I pressed on. But
I did wonder what happened there because
it was hectic.
I didn't ask you and I thought, and then it's just come to me and say, okay.
Well, it was spitting rain. And I was surprised, like Brody was struggling in those conditions because the train he just built behind him. Like we were 2x2.
It was 2 horsepower down, mate.
Yeah, true. We'll get to that. Don't worry. That's coming. But we were 2x2 for the whole up to the cutting. And him and Cam were having a mega fight. And Cam, I think, ended up getting the better of him at some point. But at that point, it was like I was smashing into Jamie going, sorry, mate, sorry.
I did, I guess to get back to where we started with that, with the Patreon question here, that was exciting. Like when they were side by side up through Reed Park and that, I was like...
It was cool.
That was... I think that's stuff like that just made the race. The battles, the side-by-side action. There was actually a lot of good side-by-side racing.
Yeah. The track worked for it, though, because the inside line in the wet's typically a bit shit because of the rubber, but it actually was opening up both lines. Like through the cutting, you could run the outside and the inside through two.
Yeah.
It had less grip on the outside, but it was enough that if someone lunged you, this is where Cooper probably could have given more space because he could have hung on, given up a little bit of time because it wasn't as fast as the Apex, but you could still hang around the outside there.
And you got the inside for the cut-in anyway.
Yeah.
The cut-in, there was a lot of 2x2 into the cutting, which surprised, because normally it's sort of one line, in the dry.
Yeah. In the wet you could, like when Cooper, I was on the slicks and I went around the outside of Cooper there, you just were real cautious and it stuck. Like you could do it. And then in the wet later, I saw a few people doing that.
It didn't work for Richie later on.
Yeah. I think he was just going too fast. He put on the white line and they said the downshift caught him, which it did at the end, but man, he was wide, wasn't he?
It did look wide, but yeah, and then it obviously did. I think he might have been on that white line, he said, as he's grabbed for second. I think it locked, but yeah.
Yeah.
But the racing was, unbelievable. Some of the battles, I mean, there were so many, probably too many to mention, but there was just some really good racing up and down the whole field.
They all ended up being at the end of the race, really, I thought. Like there was that one safety car restart where there was slicks in the wet conditions.
Yeah.
But like the end of the race, getting to watch that at the end, I thought the top 10 kept changing. Like there was like 3 guys that stayed there in the end. It was like Cooper, Golding, Payne.
Well, Reynolds was nowhere on with like 8 laps to go because he'd ran wide on that last restart.
Yeah.
Onto the front straight, and then he was miles back. And I think Lee actually said in the press conference at the end that he dragged back 8 seconds over like those last 6 laps.
Yeah.
And that's what got him back in contention. Like he was just, I think at one point he was 1.5 seconds quicker down the hill.
Yep.
Than the lead 3. Like, just as you say, the ebb and flow of the race of those top sort of 5, 6 was unbelievable.
But like 3 stayed there.
Yeah.
It was like the same 3, and then the rest were just like Richie, I think, was up to 6th when he crashed. He was another one that would have been in the top 3.
Yeah. They were having a good day.
5 going for the podium.
Macaulay Jones was in the top 8 when he shunted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a great race.
Mish has thrown in there as well. Thanks so much for signing my brown jumper that I had put your name on during co-driver practice. Made my weekend, and your dedication to your fans incredible. Well, thank you. That's what we're about. We can't do even the podcast without you guys. So we do appreciate all the support we get. So thanks for coming up and saying g'day.
Let's talk about, mate, the crash between Golding and Cooper. Because
Yeah, what do you think of it first? You give me yours.
My take on it was the move was on. I think hindsight's a beautiful thing, but I'm sure Cooper's probably seen now going, maybe if I'd just not turned down and, as you said, run that higher line, we both probably could have got there, and he probably could have been a Bathurst champion today if that was the case. But that's hindsight. I don't think Jimmy did anything wrong. I think we need to promote people having a go. It's the greatest race of the year. I think you don't want to penalise people so everyone goes, well, I can't make a lunge or can't make entertaining TV or have a go at trying to achieve my dreams here. So I thought it was good. I thought it was awesome that Jimmy had a go. He was super aggressive. I thought with room given that the move was on. Obviously room wasn't given, and that's what caused what happened. And I did tend to agree with what Jimmy said in his press conference at the end, where it was wet. He obviously ran into Cooper, but it wasn't that hard because Cooper's still great save, by the way. Cooper, that was a great save. So well done there, mate, because that could have been easy in the fence. Saved it, got going again, finished 4th. So it wasn't a very hard touch as much as it looked probably hard because, as you know, 5 kilo of pressure on the rear of a car in the wet is enough to turn them around sometimes. So I don't think it was that big of a deal. I think it was good that he had to go. It sucks for obviously Cooper and Joe. They didn't get to win, and that's what caused them not to win. But I don't think there was any malice in it. I think you got to promote that sort of stuff. Hard racing. Do I think it deserved a penalty? I don't know. I mean, it's been handed out, so it doesn't really matter what I think. But probably
It does. What do you think? Get off the fence, mate.
Probably not. Is my personal opinion.
Yep.
I don't think it is worth a penalty. I think it's hard racing. I think you need to promote hard racing when you're racing for something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't reckless. I don't think it was reckless or anything like that. So I think there was both parties contributed to it. And I think, so I think it was a 50-50.
Yeah. Look, I think you made a good point. It's the biggest race of the year, and you got to go for the win, right? And Supercars this year, the judiciary has been like, yeah, we want you guys to race aggressively and work it out on track more and more. I mean, there was so many 5-second penalties getting handed out. I'm like, it was like everyone got one. Like, I don't think, well, that for me wasn't a penalty. I think you're going for the biggest race of the year and you want to encourage people going for the win. He didn't wreck him, got down the inside. Like, we look at wanting to be more like NASCAR with their racing and the way they have this winning mentality. That's why we have the finals format. And then you go and give someone a 5-second penalty for getting down the inside and not being at like maybe the B pillar, but he was down there. And then you've got to also take into account Cooper's history. You go back to Sydney Motorsport Park when, yes, he was out of sequence with the fuel, but he turned in on Brock, no different to that. He just turns in like no one's there. And if he had and this is hard, if he had just given a little bit of space, right? And because Golding never locked front. He was making the corner.
Yeah, no, he's definitely making the corner.
So if anyone likes to say he wasn't making the corner, I mean, I went through there enough times on the weekend. He was making the corner. He wasn't out of control, wasn't locked up. He was just, unfortunately, it was like just in front of the rear wheel and it hooked and spun him, or just beside the rear wheel. But Cooper could have very easily left the door open a little bit, maybe led him up to the front door, up to the front wheel, and he still would have had the cutting.
Yeah, he still would have won the race.
A more experienced driver or someone that recognises their mistakes prior and learns from them would not have done that move.
Or it could just be a slight lack of awareness or whatever. But yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Someone more experienced or someone that, like what he did at Sydney, he should have been the perfect learning. But I remember speaking to him after and he's like, it wasn't my fault. Yeah. I'm like, dude, had you done that, you would have finished in the top 10. Like, had you just given Brock some space, Brock was always going to win that race. He had 43 seconds or something on you with fuel. Yeah,
if he'd slowed it up, got him further up, they would have just doored their way out and he would still be in front. And then he'd probably be a Bathurst champion, yeah. So
and it's hard because he did everything right that day, except in my opinion, that one instance, I think if you put a Cam, Chaz, Shane in his day, Scotty Mack, all those guys would have left the door open a little bit because he was already there, right? You couldn't close it. They would have ran door to door, let him up there. They would have given up as much as they needed to stay on track. And then even if they had a small overlap, like even if he had given up more than a car length, still would have the inside for the cutting.
And they probably would
have been done.
Inside for the cane, you'd probably almost run them up high in the cane to make them drop back, get your advantage back, off you go. That was just and you've just given your take on it. But it made for amazing TV, made for an amazing race.
And no one's robbed.
No.
Because if you want to start that, we were robbed.
Oh, there's been,
you run down the list of drivers, like if that ran dry, I think
Ryan Wood was robbed then. Engine blew up.
Ryan Wood, exactly. Like everyone that had an opportunity that day was robbed if you want to go down that mentality. And just because it happens later in the day doesn't make it any worse off than earlier in the day.
I just think it was good, hard racing, and sometimes shit happens. And unfortunately for Cooper and Joe, but that was their unlucky day. For Jimmy, he then had to cop a penalty. And for Matt, Payne and Tander, they grabbed the chocolates from it.
Yeah.
So there's always winners and losers from every 100%. Situation.
And there is no guaranteed winner.
No.
Like no one's robbed because no one deserves it. You dream of it, you work towards it, but it's not a given. You just give your best efforts, and if you win it at the end, you win it. The deserving winner, the only deserving winner was the bloke across the line first, and that was Matty Payne and Garth Tander. Yeah,
I just think, as you say, there's one winner, but everyone did an awesome job. It was great racing. It was hard racing.
Yeah.
And there's only one, so it was really good.
I found out today too, ironically, the last two safety cars, I didn't realise, there was actually someone I was speaking to today, said ironically, the last two safety cars that really screwed Golding, like one, he had a 7-second lead. He'd put the fuel margin on he needed on Woody.
It was 8, yeah.
Because he had 7 seconds of fuel he needed. That's right. I think he'd got the gap to 8. And he'd done that over Woody. And then I think, I didn't even see the incident because in the replay it wasn't there, but I think Richie Stanaway got into Macaulay and fenced him.
Right.
Is what I thought. So anyway, the ironic part is that his teammate caused both of the last two safety cars. And on both restarts, that's where Golding lost the lead. So he went deep into the last corner, got the overlap. Then the next one, I think he went into one, went deep. Oh, sorry, Brownie said, well, it was actually Golding that crossed the line first. Yeah, but I don't think Matty Payne would have let him drive past if he was doing it for position.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the last two safety cars were his teammate that kind of caused them. And if it wasn't for those two safety cars, I think Golding would have been gone. He'd have won that race by a mile.
Yeah.
So it's a little unlucky there.
Yeah.
They're the if, buts and maybes that you can
That's
throw
the
around.
thing, and yeah. So it is what it is. But then, Dave, we got Tree doing an amazing race.
Wasn't my car as well, but I want to give a shout out to Feeney. He was 2 laps down and he drove back to 6th.
Yeah, that was huge.
Like that's championship making stuff too.
He got the lucky dog, which helped him.
2 lucky dogs.
2 lucky dogs.
But
And then,
he would have been 3rd in the championship after the weekend if he just finished where he was without the lucky dogs.
yeah.
And then he came back into 17th on track and passed everyone and finished 6th.
Yeah.
At one point he said, fuck, I could see Reynolds like just up the road. And I thought, when I saw the results at the end, he was like, oh my God, I was only like a few seconds off making it to the podium. But he was like a second a lap faster in the field.
Yeah. And like Dave in those last laps, I think, you touched on it. There was a couple of cars that were lights out quick and they were able to got Dave back to the podium.
Yep.
Got them to second, got Brock back up to the top 6. As you said, helped him a lot for the championship points because he was going to drop back to 3rd, I think you said, if it had finished where he was. Unfortunately for Andre, he got bumped out of the finals with Brock passing him on the last lap. So that's a sting in the tail for those guys. But again, it's racing.
Yeah, that would suck.
That would be for one lap, you'd be like, fuck. Sound check.
I was giving you some breathing space there. You got to remember too with this finals thing, it's made up of the season. So anyone that says, "Oh, we deserve to be in," or if you had like bad luck at Bathurst and we deserve to be in, unfortunately, you don't actually. Like it's the whole season makes the top 10.
Yeah, it's just.
And if you're relying on the result in the last race of that, you probably should have done better throughout the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is a sport that creates if buts and maybes, doesn't it? Because like, look at Chaz and Woody, they had probably a $200 part in an engine fail, and then, so there's so many if buts and maybes.
Well, and then Woody had the mechanical failure at Perth when he would have won that race too. I think it was an upright failure or something. He should have won that.
Yeah.
It's hard because even in Formula One, we talked about with Oscar and Lando, whether or not he should have let him past it at Monza. And we said, if that was for the championship in the final round, would he have done it? And we're like, well, no. But what's the difference? There's actually no difference in points.
No.
That could have just cost him the championship. And that's where we say the whole season matters. Every event matters and the decisions you make count towards the same points at the end of the year.
Traymon's just said Allen dropped out of the finals down Conrad on the last lap too. Did he? I wasn't aware of that. But geez, they had a shit day. He was just a punching bag. Brody drilled them and then someone else.
What do you think of Brody's move on Kai up the Schwinkner?
Yeah, he missed. He either missed his brake mark by a long way, or just locked instantly. But he hit him with a fair pace going on.
Brody said on Sunday night he had a alternator fail, and the dash just blacked out on the front straight, and it distracted him.
Right, and he sailed past his marker.
Because he said
it makes sense because it looked like it was a long way late, or something had happened that carried a lot more speed. And then I'm just trying to think now who else got into Kai into the last corner.
Textbook Apex denial by the way.
And then Kai got drilled again. Sorry, mate, talked over that.
Kai had a shocker, didn't he? He still finished up well though. I'm sure he made it in the finals.
He got passed down Conrad on the last lap, and that was his finals.
Rose says he got in.
Okay, I'm not sure. We'll have to
let us know in the comments if he made it in or not.
Big talk on the weekend. Now that we've talked about the race, mate, was the whole parity chat around Ford not being fast enough. Brody took it upon himself to go out and try and get that stuff changed and put himself out in the limelight and was pretty vocal about it. And we are all 4 people speaking out at AHU.
We are.
That's what we're about. But takes on that, mate?
Look, I think it was great, actually, Brody spoke out. And we are, like you said, we're all 4 people speaking out and sharing their thoughts. Now, the post we put on Apex Hunters United during the weekend after qualifying, stand by that. We never actually even said that he's wrong about the parity. In the post, I'll bring it up actually because some people might not know what I'm referencing here, but on our Facebook after qualifying, now I'm obviously not in qualifying, I was spectating. So it was like all of you, I was enjoying the display of, it was like unbelievable. I mean, to see everyone at that level rolling out tyres after tyres and just putting down the best laps they could as the best drivers in the country, really showcasing what they could do.
Yeah.
And then I was a little disappointed when all it was about was, I've never seen someone so sad being fastest. That's why I made the funny picture, which Brody did think was funny. He did not give a shit. If anyone thinks I need to apologise, we know each other. My teammate's his best mate in the category, so it's not.
You had a beer on Sunday, so it's clearly not bad.
Yeah, we sat with him. It was myself, Abby, Will's partner, Will, Shannon, mine, and we just sat down and chatted. Anyway, the post was, I said, sad day for Supercars yesterday, and I did write this, so I'm happy to take any flack for it. Sad day for Supercars yesterday. Instead of celebrating .09 covering 6 cars, and that's 3 Fords and 3 Chevs, and a perfect 50-50 split in the top 10, and just .2 covering the top 10, the talk is all about parity. It's got to be the closest category in the world, yet it's not being celebrated. Rather, it's being slammed for being incompetent. Now, that's not to say that come race day, there's not going to be problems with a manufacturer, and it might not be as quick as the other. That was just saying, if you look at the facts in front of you, that is unbelievable. Any category in the world would beg for those numbers, to be able to have 2 manufacturers without BOP being...
Took the shine off what should have been a crazy day for the sport.
We saw the best of the best go at it, and just 2/10 covering the top 10. I think it's .09, I said, covered 6 cars, and 3 of which were different. Like, it was 3 Ford, 3 Chev, perfect split.
Wild, like unbelievable.
And so I was actually just saying, can we take a moment to appreciate how fucking hard it is to get different engines that are very different engines, different cars with different aero packages, to qualify around a 2-minute lap that close. That's all I was saying. And it was just a shame that it got discredited, it got put down, and it took away the shine from the top 10 shootout, because the top 10 shootout at Bathurst is the coolest moment in supercars. As a driver, I love it. It means the world to me if you can be in it. To watch it, I think, is a spectacle, and to just have it shit all over was disappointing. Yeah. And also, politically, the way the message was delivered, good fucking luck if you ever want anything to go in your favour in the future. At least deliver it with a smile.
Yeah.
And my point is as well...
You get more love with honey than vinegar.
You can still say, look, and it was like last year, we were told, don't make a big deal out of the driver weight because we can't change it this year. This is what it's going to be. The driver weight was Brody's co-driver. They did a very good job at selecting a co-driver that, based on the rules last year, would be 30 kilos underweight. And under green flag running, he put 18 seconds on me. We didn't come out prior to the event and go, well, if Brody wins this, that's why. It couldn't be changed. We were told, don't make a big deal out of it because it's not a good look for the sport, which is, it's fair enough. Yeah. You can acknowledge it. We all went, it's probably not ideal. Hopefully it's changed next year because this sucks. And for me, it really hurt. But it is what it is. We play to what we have and we play on. But to come out and say we can't win on Sunday because we're in a Ford, I feel sad for the crews as well. They would have gone, oh,
fuck, what are we doing here?
What am I doing here? Like, you're leading the team, right? You're steering the ship, the emotions, everything the crew go through, you are responsible for. And if you're a good leader, you make people feel like they can win in the toughest of situations. Yeah. And I use a good example. Like, as soon as he did that press conference, I remembered a time at Triple Eight, RD, must have been like 2012 or 13 or 14. And he actually said, we don't have the best, this is at a team meeting in the lunchroom. And he said, we don't have the best car at the moment. Tickford at the moment are faster than us, but when they step on their dicks, we need to be ready to capitalise. So let's execute, let's hit every 1%er, and we can still win this fucking thing. Yeah. And I thought, you're never out of it. Like, that stuck with me ever since then, and I never forgot that. It's like, you don't don't put yourself out of the race before it starts, because it is Bathurst. We just saw someone from 18th or 19th win the race in a Ford. I was
just going to say, and that's one thing I did really like about the podium press conference was what Garth said when he got asked the question, did you let all the talk about Ford and being slower and things come in, influence you guys on the weekend? He said, we didn't even let it come into our truck. Yep. Just focused on their job. And he said they didn't have the fastest cars, but they obviously never gave up hope. They obviously kept trying to execute on all their plans and their pit stops and driving and everything that they were doing, and they ended up winning the race.
Yeah. And Brody said on, sorry to jump in, but he did say on their podcast as well, they weren't told what to say. But Brody did say Todd was late when he sat down because he was being prepped by the team on what to say. So Brody's obviously pretty smart. Maybe he knew exactly what to say. Yeah. But Todd was being educated before the press conference started. Now, drivers, we should just be focusing on
driving the cars.
Driving the car.
Be the stars of the show. Let the teams politic and all that shit. You got CEOs, you got team principals. Yep. Let them do the politicking. You guys just steer the cars and
today's the day for it though, where I am right now.
Yeah.
Sitting at the podcast, I've spent 4 or 5 hours today on the phone going through all the numbers. I've got the documents.
Which is exactly what Jamie said. He said, I'm not going to answer that question when he got posed on the weekend.
Yep.
He goes, "This at the moment, I'm a co-driver for Car 88. I'll talk about this shit on Monday."
Yep.
It was a perfect answer.
Exactly. So yeah, anyway, good that he is speaking out. I'm not putting down his take. I just think that you'd say this is fucked. I acknowledge that this is not good. But on the other hand, we do have to take a moment to say, wow, like that was unreal.
It's crazy.
And just have a smile. And that way I think politically you'd probably win more hearts that way.
Yeah. And you're probably more likely to get your changes done or whatever you want done. But I mean, yeah, as we're not saying there is or isn't a problem with the Ford. And to me, just my personal opinion, watching the race, it looks like the Chev could tow up to a Ford and pass it far easier than what a Ford could on a Chev. So to me, there's probably something in it. But, you know, in qualifying, obviously there's not. Going on the times and the top 10 show, I think that was just remarkable. And they said to do that, to be that tight even in the same car is remarkable across that many drivers. But to do it in different cars, different teams, different setup philosophies is literally, it's mind-blowing.
Yep.
So, yeah. But in the race, it did look like there was a bit of a deficit there, whether it was the Chev was easier to tow up, whether it's a drag thing. Don't know whether it's a horsepower drag thing. You've got some stuff to read through.
Yeah, well, even just my personal experience in the race. So it took me 11 laps to pass a car, which showed that it wasn't just easy to blaze past. I passed 5 Chevs and 1 Ford. So I actually didn't pass that many Fords. They were all Chevs that I passed. And it took a little while until I could because we had a great car, but I needed to use the tyre deck. So I waited patiently until the strength of our car was there, and then I just passed them, you know, pretty much cruised by. I didn't pass anyone in a straight line. I passed them under brakes in the last corner, and that was just set up. We had an amazing drive out of the chase, right?
Yep.
But when I did get behind a Ford, mostly in the wet as well, I was able to see because I was right behind Todd Hazelwood. The draft behind them, and this is where I don't know if it's engine parity or drag. I think the Triple Eight are convinced it's drag, not actually the engine that is the deficit. So hopefully going into next year, if you're a Ford fan, you'll want to make sure that one of them's right. And if T8 thinks it's drag, you've got to hope it's drag and not the engine because they might be going down the wrong path. But ultimately, when I was out of the tow, I couldn't really catch the Fords. It wasn't like I was just driving up to them, but, excuse me.
So like what, when you sort of 3-5 car lengths back, mate?
Oh, no, more. You pick up a draft from a fair way back. But like if I'm 5 car lengths back or a little bit more, it looks like I stay pretty much the same, right? But once I got within 3, then it was like they pulled a parachute and I could drive up to them.
Yep.
Which makes me think that it's a little bit more about drag or the air that's coming off the back of the car. And if there's an engine, so that's where I think as a driver, I'm like, it has to be something to do with drag, surely, because the aero effect behind them is what was sucking us up. Like it was crazy how quickly you could catch the Ford.
The hole they were punching, yeah.
So the hole they were punching was much greater than what the Chev was because the slipstream advantage was not a lot on the Chev. Like you just got your normal tow, which is just a slight advantage. But really, once you got close to a Ford, it was just like they pulled you, or we were either pulling them back so they were going slower, or we were speeding up in their draft. I don't know which one it was. Like I said, I don't have a speedo.
Yeah.
But then in terms of the engine, I don't know because in the shootout, they're pretty good in a straight line. So I don't know. I'm like, how can it be engine? Because if you gave them 10 horsepower, like I spoke to a couple different people, they actually thought if they want what they're looking for, the 2 tenths per lap, it's 20 horsepower. Because they said drag and aero is way more effective than the engine. But to get 2 tenths a lap, it's about 20. It's not 10 horsepower they would need. If they actually want what they're asking for, it's 20. 20 is fucking ridiculous.
It's huge.
We're within 1 horsepower at the moment. So I was like, Jesus, if you gave them 20 horsepower in qualifying,
It'd be gone.
well, yeah, you wouldn't have had what we saw in quality. You would have had literally a Ford lockout all the way, and it would have been a 3/10 gap because everyone was within.
Top 15 would have been Ford.
Yeah, so I don't know how that would work. I will go into some of the details because I do have the report, and I've actually just copy and pasted. I've screenshot it and put it in here. So
Yeah, this is good.
I can read through it. Well, let's hope I get through it all. But I did think that, I want to show some insight into the report that I discovered, that I found. So due to, this is methodology behind the testing, due to the available engine pool, only a new GM engine and your used Ford engine were available for this testing. So straight away,
There's a deficit.
I'm like, okay, the first line in this seems a bit odd because you've got 2 engines that are at different life spans.
So straight away, you're not apples with apples.
Yep. And significant historical data has shown that a new engine generates less power than a used engine. Using this historical data, SC generated the below regression function Fig 1. So there's obviously graphs in this.
Yep.
To produce a ratio between a new and a used engine. So they've kind of used old data to go, well, this is where it loses power or whatever, and tried to
Try to match it up.
Try to match it. So there's already a bit of a grey area there in the testing.
Yep.
Initial testing determined that engine response to barometric variability within the two configs of the methods available differed between the two engines and displayed a deficit for Ford from 6,300 RPM band and a deficit for the GM below the 5,200 RPM. So 5,200, like obviously there's only a small percentage of the lap that would be below that. There's majority of it is higher RPM at Bathurst.
Yep.
But there is a deficit and an advantage for both. But obviously for Ford, it would be a bigger deficit at Bathurst because you got the high RPM there.
Yep.
The recommendation based on the testing they did was a 51 millimeter restrictor from a 50 millimeter and an updated camshaft aim. It should be noted that despite strong attempts to achieve line-for-line power curves, the Ford engine could not improve further within the 6,500 to 7,000 RPM band with the associated hardware and controls config. So what they had in front of them at the time, they couldn't match it, which is why they recommended the restrictor change and changing the cam timing.
Yep.
Further notes, though, says, so obviously they've got disclaimers in here. Whilst results displayed an equivalent response to the low barometric pressure, elements for refinement within the process and methodology were noted. Such areas for refinement include, the finalisation and commissioning of the exhaust barometric emulation. Currently, the complete response to low pressure is unknown, and isolation of variability such as inequivalent inlet exhaust pressure requires further understanding. So if you're going to make a change to the biggest race of the year, and that's a disclaimer in the document, it's quite difficult, I would say, to say confidently and categorically, yes, we need to make a change when you don't actually have all the information. You're lacking the inlet and exhaust pressure.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done all the testing, you probably need to wait, which is probably why as well there was some pushback on it.
Yeah.
But it does acknowledge that, yes, there's a deficit that probably needs to be rectified, but I don't think they managed to do all the testing they really required prior to the event. And then they also acknowledged that it was a less ideal situation regarding the pool availability for the engines, requiring the new to old correction factor. Again, this would be completed with a reference engine that was more characteristic of the performance across the VCS field, had one been available.
Yeah.
So they've acknowledged that the engine they used wasn't ideal. They were a different lifespan, and they also didn't get to complete the testing.
Yep.
But of course, teams will nitpick, Ford teams, and go,
Yep.
we want the 51 millimeter restrictor. It says 51's recommendation. But I don't think anyone referenced the disclaimers in there saying, well, the testing wasn't actually complete and the engines we used were at different lifespans.
Yeah.
So we tried to jig it.
And just in layman's terms, for those that are listening that might not understand
Sorry, that was a mouthful
everything
for me
you
to get
said.
through, and I didn't want to fuck it up. I'm just trying to read it word for word. So
Yeah,
everyone
no,
gets-
that's perfect. Essentially, the Chev motor, say coming off a corner, is in a deficit when it's lower RPM, and then the Ford is at a deficit, say down the straights at the end of a straight, from halfway down a straight or back, from higher RPM. Is in layman's terms, I know it's not the exact science, but for those that aren't that technically savvy, that's what it is. And then it's basically saying they didn't have all the tools to be confident to know that what they were testing was accurate. So they were missing some stuff off the exhaust. They had a new Chev and an old Ford. So there wasn't apples with that. So, to me, that makes sense why you're not going to make a change. If you're not 100% sure.
Well, I think they shouldn't have done the testing. I think they should have. The problem is, though, they've delayed it for 2 years. And then Warburton has come out and said, well, let's go do it, thinking it would answer all the questions and they'd have, but then they don't have all the information. And then with the engine pool the way it was, they didn't have equal engines. So
there's no point testing if you don't have the right stuff.
I do hope it's not going to necessarily answer anything, but there's some insight. I don't even know if I'm meant to have that.
Oh, great. Another letter coming.
Yeah, but I've also been given the same information from multiple people, and I was like, well, I can't fucking repeat that. So I've just literally copy and pasted so everyone in here can have it, because I don't know why it's not public. I don't think that it's clear cut, and you do have different parties that have different opinions. I even said to Davo on the weekend when we were leaving the track, well, Davo, dude, following you, I genuinely think you have just heaps of drag.
Yeah.
I do agree that you're slow in a straight line, but I don't agree with you on where it is. And then they're saying, well, no, it's fucking engine, it's this, is that. I'm like, well, hang on, this is a problem, because no one really is 100% sure. So if we did go and give them 10 horsepower, there's the likelihood that they might also have heaps of downforce, heaps of drag because they've got heaps of downforce, and then just have shitloads of straight line. And then we can't follow them across the top because they were fast across the top, and then they're P1 down the bottom too.
And it's predominantly isolated to a problem at Bathurst because of the elevation.
It is, and that's the thing. So barometric pressure.
Yeah.
I think we're like 700 meters at Bathurst. You got sea level, and obviously then you're up 700 meters. And an engine, the air density is less at 700 meters, so it produces less power. That's why you see like at Tasmania when it's cold and the air is dense, the engines just fucking hum. But I do have a couple of questions that I just don't know the answers to. So all week everyone was talking about why the engine was so much worse in the race.
Yep.
Right now, reading the report, the engine's power deficit is above 6,300 RPM. In the race, when you're full of fuel, the RPM is lower. So like your minimum speed is lower everywhere. So you're using the torque of the engine to get out of turn 2, to get out of turn 1, to get out of the cutting. So if you chuck 80 or 90 kilos worth of fuel in the back of the thing and the RPM is lower, you're spending a larger percentage of the lap in the lower torque range, which is where you have an advantage over the Chev.
Yep.
So I'm actually asking, can someone, whether it's Brody or someone else, give me the answer as to why in the race the deficit is less? Because if you think about it, it should be less in the race. It should be a bigger deficit in qualifying when you're on low fuel and the thing's humming. You come out of turn 2 and you need to pull fourth gear.
Up over that rev spot.
Yeah. So that doesn't really make too much sense to me why when you spend a larger percentage of the lap at low RPM because of heavier fuel, it's worse.
I think it's just one thing is clear is there's confusion, mate, because like we've been fed a fair bit of information from both sides of Chev and Ford, and my head's just spinning because you hear one side's argument and what they think, and then you hear another side, then you hear driver's point of view, and I'm like I think what you're trying to say is everyone's just confused. No one actually knows.
Yeah. Well, and then Paul Morris did a video as well, and it's like, if you want your answers around parity, here it is. And I got no answers. It sounded great, but I'm like, he said it's worse in the race. Well, okay, can you answer my question then, dude? Tell me why it is worse in the race when you spend more time in lower RPM with heavy tanks. Because I don't understand. I just watched your video. I watched it back today because everyone kept tagging me saying, go watch his video. It answers everything. And I went and watched it. I was like, it doesn't say anything.
Right.
And you got to remember as well, Brody's like his surrogate. So, and I love dude. I think what he does is amazing. But I've also got to go, well, hang on. Like, that's why I've just read the report. Because obviously we're all biased.
Yeah.
And I've got some numbers too, because Brody did say, well, if you stick to the stats and just the facts, you can't see it any other way. So I've got facts. I'll read those as well in a minute and you can make your own mind up. But I do have answers. Like Brody said on his podcast, in stint 2, he said that once it all leveled out, Todd was about a tenth a lap slower down Conrod than the others.
Yep.
I said to Will, why didn't you ask him if that's because he was fuel saving? Because in that stint, he extended his stint length by 2 laps over Brock.
So he's fuel safe.
So he's lifting and coasting.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, so in that stint where he managed to get 2 laps longer out of the tank, was he fuel saving?
Yeah.
Because in clean air on a shootout lap, you're no slower. So why is it on a full tank you're slower, but you're also saving fuel too? So I'm kind of like, okay, like there's just things that we don't really know, and everyone has a vested interest. But also, I didn't see this video from the dude last year when his surrogate had that 30 kilo advantage saying, well, if you don't have a co-driver that weighs fuck all, you're not going to win this race. That's just facts. It's like having a 4-wheel drive Nissan back in the day. Like that was his video. I'm like, well, hang on, where was this last year? Talking to every other fan that doesn't go for Brody. But then this year, you do the video. So you do have to remember everyone has skin in the game.
Yeah.
The other one was as well, I was told today by someone quite high at Supercars. Around Perth, there was aero testing done and Supercars offered a package that had less drag and downforce. The Ford teams declined and rejected that offer. They went with one that had more downforce and therefore more drag, right? Which suited them at places like the Bend and all those other places they've done really well at. And then Supercars suspect that the Ford teams declined that offer or they rejected that setup because they expected once the barometric testing was done, they would get both. So obviously they didn't. That's where the concern comes in and you go, well, shit, would they have just been really fast over the top and then with the extra 10 horsepower been fast in the bottom too? I don't know. So it comes back to as well, why is it such a big thing in the race? Sorry, I feel like I'm going on here, but hopefully this is giving some
it's good
info because I've spent all day trying to fucking work. I spoke to so many people on the phone and I've been emailing and trying to get as much info as I can because, of course, on the race weekend, I spent 0 time thinking about this. I didn't want to be distracted at all about this. Now, the next one is team parity. This is the big one, right? So I've acknowledged, I do agree. I was able to tow up and pass the Fords easier than the Chev.
Yep.
I don't know, though, whether it's engine or drag. There is a deficit there of some kind.
Some sort, yep.
But then they are strong in other areas because they can go out in the shootout and do it.
Yep.
I don't know why in the race it's a bigger deficit. It doesn't... Yeah, I just need that explained by maybe the dude has the answers or Brody does. But then I wanted to go into some of the gaps between cars on track. Okay, because I think the deficit they were looking for was, 2/10 a lap or something?
Yep.
Now, the question is how much of this gap is due to the engine parity and how much is disparity in the teams? Keep in mind, the two teams most talked about are separated by 1,862 points, which is a massive margin. That's T8 and DJR.
Yeah.
So DJR is nearly 2,000 points behind at this point, right? And they're saying that they can't win Bathurst unless they're in a Chev. Statistically, so far this season, you can't win the championship if you're in the DJR car, and that's just brutally honest. So sorry, Ford fans. But I thought that this is, and I'm from a Ford family. Like, mate, honestly, I'm just reading numbers here. Like Brody said, if you stick to the numbers,
You're just trying to put out facts.
there's the truth in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So up until lap 53, Whincup and Feeney had put approximately 37 seconds on Waters and Winterbottom. Now, some of that will obviously, I'll put a disclaimer here. I'm looking at all dry running from the start of the race until the safety car, which was 50.
So that's about
54, I think.
6/10 a lap.
6/10 a lap. So you've still got, let's say, a 4/10 deficit there if it's 2/10 per lap they're looking for.
Yep.
All right. Now, in stint 3, prior to the rain, I put 3.2 seconds on Brody in 3 laps.
Okay. So it's 9/10.
9/10 a lap. Now, he might have been saving a bit of tyre or whatever, but I was too because I was in for a long stint at that point before the rain. So for whatever reason, Brody was slow and I'm a co-driver.
Yeah.
Like if you thought, so I'd struggle to see how the deficit of 3.2 seconds in 3 laps is all engine parity. I'm not sure about that one. Camaro versus Camaro. This one's interesting because this just shows the difference in if you've got a Camaro and you don't set it up right, the difference that can be there in the same manufacturer. Will Brown put 15.2 seconds on Job Stewart in one stint, including passing 2 cars, one of which was him. Now, 15.2 seconds, and I did put a disclaimer in here as well. I'm not sure about starting the main because it didn't seem to work for them, and then the co obviously didn't have the pace in the dry because 15.2 seconds is a lot. But anyway, there's your difference between 2 Camaros. And then in my car, we started behind Randall and Moffat, but by lap 54, the gap was 44.5 seconds between us. They were P13 and I was P2. Shell's second car with Davo and TD started right behind me. I was 12th. They started 14th. They crashed. When they crashed, they were 41 seconds behind me.
Yeah.
So all the shit that I got on socials, slamming me for being biased, so I just want to know, like there's some gaps. How much of that needs to be some credit given to people that are doing well?
Teams
and
are
how
doing
much
a good
is it?
job, yeah.
Is it engine parity? Because the amount of shit the category got over engine parity
Yeah.
versus the size of those gaps, I think the size of those gaps, some teams need to take some responsibility.
Yeah.
And so do the drivers. Like we all do.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I've been at Walkinshaw, I've been at DJ, I've been at other teams. You have the opportunity to win Bathurst. That's not to say at the end of the race they couldn't have won.
And I guess that's the thing. If there's anyone that can speak on this, you've been through a few different teams. You've seen how they operate. You understand the differences. You're like,
I don't even know why we were that fast.
yeah,
But they were.
yeah,
But I do agree. I actually agree that, yep, there's something that needs to be worked on. Those gaps prove to me the question I want to pose in the podcast, after those gaps, could T8 have still had, even if you halve them, would they still have been leading at lap 54 when the safety car came out in a Ford?
Well,
Everyone in the comments after those gaps, tell me what you think. Forget it, because everyone's asking me at the moment, like, oh, if you're in the Ford next year, I bet you want the change. So I'm like, okay, yeah, well, of course the change, if they need one, would help.
yeah.
But
looking at those gaps, if it was 2/10 like they quoted, Triple Eight was in a Ford on the weekend, going off those gaps, it would still be leading. So
take 2/10 a lap off them.
yeah, you still would have
Well, in my stint to Jamie, and Jamie said he was tapped, I had 5/10 a lap on him in my second stint. And that's just car setup.
Yeah.
We just had my car one, for whatever reason, had no deg.
Yeah.
The thing was a rocket ship.
Yep.
And I thought I was just strapped into this thing that was, if it stayed dry, I was probably going to win the race. And Jamie was that's Camaro v Camaro.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not this
And garage to garage.
garage to garage.
Yeah.
So I'm fairly passionate about that, but I was in the race and I did drive up to some Fords, and I think my toe in their toe, like when I was behind them, the toe was much bigger.
Yeah.
I could catch them easier, and we saw that on TV.
Yeah, and just watching that on TV, it's just about to say, mate, like you could see that. As you said, once you got to them, it looked easier to pass.
Yep.
But as you said, if you weren't right on them, it looked fairly even Stevens.
Yep. And today I've spent all day on this. On the race weekend, I never spent 1 second on parity. I rang you this morning, dude. I said, man, I stress all the time that I'm going to be the weak link in that team. And I just am like, I'm always worried that, I look over at Jamie, he's got his headphones on the whole time, sitting in the corner. I can't see his laptop. I don't know what he's looking at. Jamie's going to listen to this and be like, fuck, I can't believe he stares at me the whole time. But I'm like, what's he looking at?
It's like I'm invoicing people.
No, he might well be. But I look around and like Brock's a bloody super geek looking at data all the time, and Will's constantly looking at onboard because he's feeling the heat from Brock. And the mechanics, no one's fucking around, no one's on their phone, no one's joking around. Like, and I feel like if I don't put in that effort, I'll be found out for not being at their level. And that's something that's new for me. I think in the past, like I apologized to a sponsor because I actually forgot to take them for a tour. And I had said, I'll take you for a garage tour. And then I just completely forgot. And I messaged him, I'm sorry, I'm just still not used to the outside world doesn't exist when we're in this bubble. It's like the performance is all that matters. It's all you think about. And I'm still adapting to that. But I think that's where you got to give some credits. Like we weren't thinking about it, dude.
Yeah.
We were like, and if we did have a deficit, we were like, okay, it's Bathurst. If we make, if we do everything right, you can still win the thing. And that was proven at the end. That's where the fans won.
Yeah.
Like I love that race.
Yeah.
And we saw people in the top 10 that drove fucking awesome that deserved to be in the top 10 at the end of that day. Like Will made mistakes. Brock stuck it in the fence.
Yeah.
The guys at the front at the end of the day did a better job.
Deserved to be there. Yeah.
Deserved to be there 100%.
Yep. Drove the conditions and managed the day. And that's the thing. Like it's a 6-hour race.
Yep.
And that's where car speed won't just win. Sometimes it will, but
Exactly. But Brody, please answer me, why is it the race is so much worse? I'd like to know. Why can the Fords be so fast? Like they had the front first time since 1990, Ford locked out 1 through 4. So I just don't get it. And I do think it's the drag. I think we can tow up to them easier, but I might be wrong. It could be the engine. So yeah, help me on that. And then dude as well, if you have answers, because I did watch the video and I just have more questions than answers when I watched it. I was just like, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get much from it, but it got a lot of views and stuff. And I think it's how you can say a lot without actually saying something.
Yeah. Smoke and mirrors, mate.
Anyway, there's my chat on Team Parity. I do have a team's update in here as well because when we're looking at drivers too. So I'll do that first. Remember we didn't know about Kylan? If he was
that'd be good.
So the top 10 that made it through to the finals.
Great.
And Enduro champion is highlighted in here as well as Matty Payne. So he's P2 in the championship. I'll start with him because they finished third at the Bend and they won Bathurst. So a pretty wild Enduro campaign for those guys. P1, though, in the championship at the moment is Brock Feeney. And the gap is only 1,026 points to 970. So it's closed right up between Brock and Matty Payne. Will Brown is number 3 in the championship. Cam Waters P4, Brody P5, Chaz P6, which is awesome considering he had the drama with the engine failure.
Yep.
Anton Di Pasquale P7. 8th is Randall. 9th is Ryan Wood. And 10th is actually Kai Allen. He snuck in there by 3 points over Cameron Hill.
That's great.
Well, not great for Cam Hill.
No, not for Cam Hill, but great. Considering Kai had a real hard day, it's nice that he stayed in there because he would have been thinking, oh, shit. The third or fourth time he got drilled, he would have been going, fuck.
Yeah. And then, it goes Andre P12, James Golding P13, Reynolds 14, and 15 is Nick Percat. Any surprises in the top 10 there, mate?
Not really, I don't think, mate.
Surprise to me is actually that Chaz is so far ahead of Woody. To have had a DNF, I mean, they're both DNF, but actually for Chaz to be 6th and Woody down in 9th because the hype.
I think because the hype and the optics around Woody have been quite big this year, and then the days where Chaz has probably just gone about, hasn't been sensational, but banked a 4th or a 5th or whatever, is probably gone a little bit unnoticed,
Yep.
I would assume. But you get that when you've got a young charger and an old dog, they tend to pump up the young dogs a bit. So
he's out qualified though, I feel, more often than not to Chaz. So
yeah, no, he's done it.
And usually qualifying's the best way to pass cars, but maybe just had a bit of bad luck along the way, or I don't know. There'll be a few just things you look back at and go, oh, if I did that differently or if I made that decision then, and also the failure at Perth was not his doing. He was leading. Yeah,
he's had a few things go against him. It's good to have someone like Chaz in there because I think come Goldie and some of those street tracks, if they give him a car, he's always exciting to watch. As a fan that'll be watching on the big screen at home, I think you need a Chaz that's willing to have a crack. And
Yep, definitely. Red Bull Empire Racing is leading the teams ahead of Penrite Racing, which is Groves. That gap is only, I'm terrible at maths, so it's 4,349 to 3,544. So what is it, less than 100 points? Less than 1,000 points now. So it was 1,000, I think, before Bathurst. They've closed that up. So what is it, 800 and, I don't know, 800 points, let's call that.
that'll do.
3,000, Someone can let me know in the comments. It's a big gap, but it's closed up. Tickford is P3.
Okay.
I feel they've just sort of snuck along under the radar a bit this year, so that's still good. Walkinshaw's P4, DeWalt Tradie Energy, it's Team 18's P5,
Yep.
and Shell is P6. That surprised me. That's why as well with this parity stuff, I'm like, man, I do wonder if they got caught up in a little bit too much, and on the weekend some of the mistakes that were made, like Brody's,
And they're currently still the homologation team, so
Yeah.
they're obviously feeling like there's a responsibility there, or there's a bit of egg on the face or whatever, and
But the good thing is, this is where too, like for a Ford fan, and don't worry, my dad used to be like, those cheating pricks all the time about every Holden team. So I do, it's very familiar.
We get it.
but come the finals, Brody's probably my pick to win the final. Like I think I might have picked him a few pods ago when we did our predictions.
I wonder what he's paying right now. I should put some money on that.
Oh, I reckon it'd be good odds anyway. I think Gold Coast, I think he won last year. Adelaide, I don't know if he won last year at all, but he's fucking quick there. Like I think that
Those straight.
if he can get through Sandown,
Yeah.
whether that drag engine, whatever they want to have, whatever it is, if Sandown's an issue for them, that would be their only hiccup, I reckon, because Gold Coast and Adelaide,
Yeah.
I think, and that's where Shell will be stoked because they got the chance of a driver actually still winning the title, which is mega. Like that's actually what we all want as fans, is to go to the final with.
Ford fans should be pretty excited because if it's Brody, Chaz, or Cam going into Adelaide, all three of those Ford drivers have an amazing chance around Adelaide.
Yeah.
To get it done. So.
And then 7th is Matt Stone Racing. 8th is BJR with the R&J Batteries car, so Andre Heimgartner.
Yep.
And Automotive Superstore Racing.
Which is Bryce.
Which is Bryce. And then Erebus is P9, Premier P10.
Yep.
11th is Blanchard. 12th is
Wildcard.
Macca and Jackson.
Oh, yep.
13th is the wildcard, then goes into wildcards.
Yep.
Were there any chats in here that we missed before we roll into some memos? If you have a question, quickly pop it into our Patreon right now so that I can have a read because obviously I was rambling for a while.
And talking stats, mate, and it was great. It's great that you got that insight and that we're able to give some optics around it because otherwise it's just people's opinions. Without, like, that's stats and facts that we've found. They're not our opinions. That's the data.
Yeah. And this would not have happened without Brody speaking out as well, which is why we want to encourage, like, Chaz having a beer, like Brody speaking out. Might not have liked the way he did it and the timing of doing it.
But we're talking about it.
100%. This whole pod has been about that. So that's why you got to speak out. And I at no point did I, like, slam him for doing it. I just think the timing of doing it, we needed to celebrate the good.
And the execution, maybe. But, yeah, I'm going to go over
Okay, go for a piss and I'll keep an eye on the comments here.
Thanks, mate.
Welcome back from your piss, Barber.
Thanks, mate.
Brenton Rose has popped in our chat. Adding to the T8 talk, mentioned it before, but this is the first year since 2004 T8 haven't been on an Enduro podium. I think that's actually that's sad for me. Good thing for the sport, though.
It's a huge stat.
It's huge. But that's where it was. I mean, the Bend we saw regulars, though. It was like Shell, Groves. But on the weekend, man, I think there was one point Brody said to me on Sunday night, Matty Payne was the only driver that's in the top 10 of the championship that was on the lead lap at one point.
Wow.
I think credit to those guys that were in at the end because they drove like they were the front runners.
There was a lot of, and I know we haven't mentioned them all. I've seen a few pop up in our comments here via Patreon members, but there was a lot of young coes that aren't that experienced that did an amazing job. I thought John Boys drove really well.
Yep.
Zach Best did a great job. Just off the top of my head, there was
Zach did an amazing job actually. I think.
There was a few that probably didn't get the credit they deserved. So I thought it was a great day for the younger, less experienced coes to stand up and shine, and I think a lot of them did. So I thought that was awesome.
One thing I did want to mention: the commentators. They made they made more mistakes I think than usual in this one. It is a long race. But like one that stood out to me, which was because I was going through it was lap 54, 53, where I was like going back and finding the start of the race and going through the gaps between cars. And when I drove out of the pit in front of Brody, they thought I was 88 and they kept talking about the gap to Brody and Jamie and then that Jamie's a Coe and not that he's really a Coe because it's Jamie Whincup. And they talked about it for like a lap. And then they realised it was the wrong person they were talking about, but rather than acknowledge they made a mistake, which that's what I was saying after the debrief, I'm like, man, no one ever says or corrects each other.
Yeah.
So they let each other go wrong for a while. And then they actually were like, so the gap we're talking about here is actually from Jamie to is 10 seconds. I thought it was a little bit less, but it's actually 10 seconds. And I'm like, No, you were just talking about me, which is only 3 seconds.
I was on that and it shipped me and they were saying they had it wrong and I'm like, it's Scott.
And then they blamed the totem.
And
they
then
actually said, oh, it's wrong again.
But it was on an in-car too and I'm like, well, it's Scott's helmet. You can see the number on the windscreen. Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
Jimmy Pincott Rally said, on the team professionalism front, do you think we are in the same boat if Penske were still on board and pushing DJR? It seemed they were the only ones to take it to T8. Yeah, I think that the situation we're in with Parity, DJR's going to take some responsibility for it as well because you are the homologation team. Mm-hmm. And you've probably, like DJR, when they had Team Penske, holy shit, they did a mega job with that Ford, the Mustang then, parodizing it. It come out ridiculous, didn't it? Like it was a jet.
Yeah.
And I
had all that
think
heavy
maybe
exhaust and they did all the tricky shit. And
so maybe there is a bit of a, yeah. And that's where I say, like, you got to give credit to where it's due. When like Scotty Mack was here and dominating, they were just doing a good job. They were doing a better job. And I think even Erebus, like when they won the championship in the Camaro, they're just doing a better job. They beat T8 fair and square.
No, yeah. And that was, 100%.
That was a new car and Erebus acknowledged it. T8 even said, like, when I've been up there, they're like, fuck, Erebus just did a better job.
That's one thing. Erebus always bring a fast car to Bathurst. Since they've got out of the Mercs and they've gone to the Commodores.
I thought Cooper was going to get pole.
I cannot remember a time that their cars they've always had rocket ships. So they've obviously got the secret sauce around that.
Yeah.
Thing.
They were Cooper was flying, dude.
He fired off that last corner. He ran wide on the last corner.
He would have been P1 then, would he?
It would have been a 3, like dead set, because he went well wide, and it was like, and he lost whatever he lost, and so they were lights out quick.
Yeah. Mish said, what do I think of the Supra? So I did get a look up close at that. It looks cool. I don't think it's going to look anything like that when it actually arrives on the racetrack to do round one. The thing is like a bullet. It's shaped. But also I overheard someone who is one of the teams running it say they've been talking to Walkinshaw and they're like, we need to put the engine on the like supercar dyno. And they're like, no, we know where it's at. It's great. And they're like, guys, we need to actually really know where it's at because I don't think they do. I think they're a fair way behind. And I did hear that so they did the testing here in Australia, down here in Melbourne recently with the 3 cars, the GM, the Toyota and the Ford that T8 had to build. They sent them down here and they checked them all over. The Ford that T8 built passed in like 2 hours. I think it was 2 days until they got the GM to pass because I don't even think Team 18 have a
jig.
I don't think they even have a Tiga jig. So apparently they turned up and the thing was like the panels were nowhere. And then the Supra was like 200 or 300 kilos underweight. Like it was not even close. So that's a concern. Like I think as a category, they'd be like, holy shit, we are like Toyota, the Supra is miles away from where it needs to be, which is, I think it's a concern. I think the Toyota is actually a mile away. But what I worry about, and the fans should too, is supercars need that thing on the grid.
Yeah, and they need to do well too.
And I don't know if Walkinshaw would be intentionally delaying things so that when they get to the end, like this is just a conspiracy theory, but if you leave things to the end and supercars on their knees wanting Toyota to do well, they're going to get things approved. And that's where the teams, the responsibility is on GM homologation teams and Ford to make sure that the car that gets approved is correct. Like there's responsibility on those guys too. But if the Toyota arrives at the first round and it's just got some hot rodded bits on it, it might be a Toyota show, but I don't know. It's not mine to worry about. That's none of mine. I don't know what will happen there, but it sounds like the Toyota's a million mile away from where it needs to be.
I'm sure it'll be causing headaches for some people at the moment, but that's their problem.
They go to America in, straight after, I think the week after the last event. They go over there and start doing the AVL testing and like jazz.
Yeah, cool.
So that will be interesting. Do you want to wrap this bad boy up and then finish it off with a part 2 with
some memos?
Memos?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of memos come through, which is great. So thanks, guys. So, I think that's a great idea. I think it's been a good chat, mate. I think we got through it pretty well. Yeah, hopefully, Hunters, you've enjoyed it. The Patreon members, thank you for jumping in and adding to it by firing away your questions and helping us out with the info that we don't know.
We do as well, maybe not always reference the questions, but try and keep an eye on it and make sure that if we see something that comes up that we need to answer, I'll answer. Not always just read the question out, but the conversation does steer the pod too. So don't be afraid of constantly throwing in chat there and helping us out where we don't know the answers or we need to address something that the fans are wondering about, because that's why we have this here. It's literally a comment section so we can actually see what is relevant to everyone on the chat.
Pod for the people. So we'll cut that here and then we'll go into our part 2, which will be memos.
Let's do it, mate.